Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. It's that time of the week again. It's Premier League predictions time. Another round of exciting and intriguing Premier League encounters are almost upon us for this upcoming weekend, and there are some big games coming up in the game week 5 of the new Premier League season. So far, it's not exactly been great for me. I have 18 points from a possible 120. Remember, it's 3 points for guessing the correct score entirely. It is 1 point for guessing the result, but not the scoreline. And it's 0 points if I completely get it 100% wrong. So far, I've got 100 out of a possible 120. So here's hoping for a much better week this time around. But before we get into all the talk, analysis, and obviously the predictions of each and every single game coming up this weekend, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you are new. Both things will always and forever be greatly appreciated. And of course, I encourage each and every single one of you to get involved in the comment section down below. Use and abuse that section, people, and talk to me on how you think each and every single game will go. Your thoughts, comments, opinions, feelings, but most of all, of course, your predictions, I'm sure, will make for great and interesting reading down below. Because after all, people, where would a Premier League predictions video be after all without predictions? Sound good? Great. Now, let's get on with things, shall we? Let's kick things off with Saturday's lunchtime fixture, and what a game to kick off this weekend. We're at Anfield for yet another Merseyside Derby as Liverpool take on Everton. Arne Slot versus David Moyes. And as you can see, I've gone with a 2-1 win to the Reds. Now, Liverpool are the only team so far to be 100% perfect so far this season. Still unbeaten, 4 wins out of 4. They have been leaving it extremely late to get those wins, but they are finding ways to win each and every single game week. And I think that this game is another perfectly set up game for them to again find a way to win. Look, I hate these games as much as the next. With all due respect to Everton, I know they started off the season pretty well. I know that the signings of Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall and Jack Grealish in particular have been very welcome additions to the Everton squad overall. But honestly, I just want to win. I just want to win in these games, and I'm hoping that with Liverpool being at home, I'm hoping with 2 games a week starting to become a factor for them, that the momentum in the legs of those players will propel them further to not only gel together as a team, but also to raise the bar in their performances. I'd be hoping that Liverpool absolutely wipe the floor with Everton, but I know for a fact it's never going to be that easy. Again, with all due respect to Everton, they do kind of treat these games like a cup final. We do know how Everton are probably going to be setting up in this game. Low block, disciplined, trying to be hard to break down, and then as soon as they get the ball, it's going to be launch it for a quick counter-attack. That is going to be the textbook game plan of Everton in this scenario, and Liverpool need to be fully aware of that. Having said that, there are signs that Liverpool are seemingly clicking a little bit. Their defence has been solid the past couple of games in the Premier League. The attack was very good midweek against Atletico. Fingers crossed that things can continue to progress there. And like I say, there is always late drama in the Premier League. There's always late drama in the Merseyside Derby in particular. And that is why, again, I have gone with a 2-1 win to Liverpool. So, fingers crossed for the Reds on that score. But it wouldn't be out the realms of possibility for Everton to get something in this game. It could very well happen, of course. But like I say, I'm going with Liverpool to win. I'm going with Liverpool to get the job done and get the 3 points. Next up, Burnley taking on Nottingham Forest, and I've gone with a 2-1 win to Forest. Now, I am not entirely sure about this one, in all honesty, now that I've said this, because Ange Postecoglou and Forest, I don't think are a great match, but at the same time, this is a very favourable game for Forest and for Postecoglou to get his first win under his belt. Last week, they barely laid a glove on Arsenal, and against Swansea midweek in the Carabao Cup, Forest obviously had that incredible collapse in which they were 2-0 up and ended up losing 3-2. So, it isn't out of the realm as a possibility for Scott Parker's Burnley to get something in this game. However, I do think the firepower that Forest have will be enough to get them across the finish line. I think the extra firepower that Forest have will be enough. If Burnley can take some positives out of their 1-0 defeat to Liverpool, in which they defended very strongly, very well disciplined, very resolutely, I think if they take that, but they also add a bit more going forward, they can certainly get something from this game. But I do think Postecoglou picks up his first win, his first 3 points as the new Forest head coach. Moving on to the Emirates Stadium, and it will be Brighton taking on Tottenham, and I see this being a 2-2 draw. Now, Tottenham have started off the season very, very well indeed. Brighton, not so much. A loss to Bournemouth last week, a tough Bournemouth side, I grant you, and their games don't exactly get any easier. But at the same time, in saying that, Spurs, maybe the addition of Champions League football might be a slight hindrance for them. Who knows? Maybe that could be the case, and maybe it's something that Brighton could take advantage of. Adding to that, Brighton are, of course, at home as well, so it isn't out of the realms of possibility for Brighton to get something in this game. Spurs are flying, though. Spurs are doing really, really well, but this is obviously a tough test for them. Brighton have been a bit of a bogey side for them in the past as well, so I'm fully expecting Brighton to get something from this game, which is why I have gone for the 2-2 scoreline. I think it could be a very entertaining game, and it is one that I'm certainly hoping there will be goals in. So a point apiece at the full-time whistle is what I'm going with here. Next up, West Ham United take on Crystal Palace in a London derby of sorts at the London Stadium. And I've gone 2-0 Palace. Last week, Palace drew 0-0 with Sunderland, whilst West Ham could not make it back-to-back wins in the Premier League as they lost heavily to another London side in Tottenham. Massive pressure on Graham Potter. Massive pressure on Graham Potter. If he doesn't win this game, you kind of fear for his job. Palace are not obviously going to make it easy. They're not obviously going to be in any way, shape or form going to be easy to break down. They're not going to be easy to stop going forward either. So I am fully expecting Palace to get the job done, get the win, and potentially be strong enough defensively and resolutely for a 2-0 win. Europe's on the horizon for Palace, so it could be an interesting game to see how Oliver Glasner manages it. But it is certainly one that I am expecting and anticipating Palace to pass with flying colours. Next up, Molineux awaits the arrival of newly promoted Leeds as Wolverhampton Wanderers take on Daniel Farke's side. And I've gone with a 1-1 draw. Now, Wolves winless. Wolves pointless. I think they get their first point on the board this weekend. I think being at home, I think that I just think it's got to come sooner or later. Especially with the kind of way that everybody else has started. Wolves are under severe pressure to get their first point under their belts. And I think that can happen this weekend. I think a draw against Leeds is a genuine possibility. Leeds have been decent so far this season. They've been I think, better than what a lot of people had anticipated them to have probably been in the opening 4 games of the campaign. But having said all that, there's always the possibility that with Wolves' team, they could always turn up in a game like this. And whilst their form isn't great, whilst there is immense pressure on the manager, I just think that they can get something from this game. So I am going for a 1-1 draw between Wolves and Leeds, but I would not be surprised if Leeds actually did go on and win this game. It is a favourable game for them to go on and get 3 more points in. And of course that could help them in a long, long way in the bigger picture of obviously trying to battle relegation. Saturday's evening encounter, we'll see Manchester United take on Chelsea. And as you can see, I've gone with a heavy 3-1 win to Chelsea. Now, Champions League football could play a bit of a hindrance to the Blues, as obviously the extra minutes in the legs of those players may benefit Manchester United. It could be a strong possibility that which is at the beginning of the season why I said that United may actually find the season a little bit more favourable than what a lot of people were giving them credit for. However, Chelsea still have the better squad. Chelsea still have a good young squad that should be capable of not only being big enough to rotate, but also young enough to obviously have a lot of energy in those legs still. If Maresca manages it very well, if he sets up well, he will get the job done. No doubt about it. I know that Chelsea don't exactly have the best of records at Old Trafford, but at the same time, I still think Chelsea will break that record, win the game, and get the 3 points. United, they will create chances. The one thing that they have done consistently all season is create chances. Even last weekend in the Manchester Derby, where they lost heavily, they still managed to create chances. Their problem is they can't take those chances. Now, against the Chelsea side that are defensively still very questionable, and against a goalkeeper who is, in my opinion, still extremely poor, I do think United will be able to at least take one of those chances. But it's about keeping them out at the other end. And I think Chelsea's way of playing, I think how slick they can be on their day, how dynamic and how precise they can be on their day, I think they will punish United heavily, which is why I think they will score, at the very least, 3 goals, get a 3-1 win, and win the game fairly comfortably. United could possibly get something. It isn't out of the realms of possibility. We know that occasionally they will turn up in these big games to get something out of it. But I'm backing the favourites. I'm backing Chelsea. Chelsea to get the 3 points, man. That's what I'm going for. There's another Saturday night game. 8 o'clock kickoff. London derby of sorts. Fulham against Brentford. Big game this for both sides. I've gone with a 2-1 win to Fulham. Big win for Fulham last weekend. They left it late, but they managed to get the win nonetheless. Marco Silva's side have gone under the radar a little bit. They've got a couple of good players. I mean, that Kevin, for example, had a decent debut as well on their victory last week. So it's going to be interesting to see how he continues to develop. He could actually be the difference maker in this game, of course. Whilst for Brentford, again, they left it late, but they managed to get something in their game against Chelsea. All somewhat fortuitously, of course. There was a strong possibility. It probably was offside, their equalising goal in the dying embers of the game. But the goal was allowed to stand. They get a point. Fabio Carvalho rescued them. What could turn out to be a big point for Brentford come the end of the season. But I just think that Fulham might have too much for them to handle. Bit of consistency, hard to break down. Being the home side as well, it could be a bit too much for Brentford to handle. I'm going 2-1 to the home side in this one. Next up, Sunday. We move on to Sunday's games, and first up we're at the Stadium of Light for Sunderland against Aston Villa, and I've gone with a 1-1 draw, which not only means that Villa get another point under their belts, but also they actually score a goal in the Premier League. Imagine that. They could actually score a goal in the Premier League this weekend, which would be absolutely incredible for Aston Villa, who scored in midweek against Brentford in the Carabao Cup, ultimately losing the game on penalties, but at least they actually saw a goal, those Villa supporters. They probably had forgotten what it felt like to actually score until Harvey Elliott, of course, popped up with the opening goal of that game. Will they be able to do so again in this game? Well, let's face it, Sunderland, it will be favourable opposition, but this side have proven at home so far this season in the 2 games that they have played to be very, very difficult to break down, to play against. And even last week, away from home, they managed to still get something from what could have been a very difficult game against Crystal Palace. So Sunderland are no pushovers. Don't get it twisted. Sunderland are no pushovers. But if Aston Villa fail to win this game, there will be immense pressure on Unai Emery, even before the season has really begun. So this could be a very, very intriguing game, to say the least. I'm going 1-1. I think Sunderland can get something out of this, and I also think Villa can actually score a goal finally in the Premier League. But this really could go any which way. Villa have the players that could turn up at any moment. Sunderland have the home advantage, which has proven difficult so far for Premier League teams. We shall see. We shall see. Next up, I've gone 2-2 between Bournemouth and Newcastle at the Vitality Stadium. Two teams who... Bournemouth have started off the season really, really well. Bournemouth have been incredible, and Antoine Semenyo in particular has been absolutely outstanding so far this season, and I'm sure that he'll be hoping to continue his good run of form. Newcastle could have actually had a few more points than what they've already managed to accumulate so far this season, but they picked up a very good win against Wolves last weekend. Their star man up front, their new man up front in Voltemeda, made the difference and got the goal that was the difference maker on the day. Could Champions League football be a bit of a factor for them going into this game? Of course it could. The extra minutes and the legs of those Newcastle players that are already suffering with, you know, a couple of injury issues and things like that here and there to begin the season. The extra minutes and the legs of those players could obviously be a slight hindrance for them. But they're still going to be a good side regardless. They're still going to be a difficult side regardless. And I'm looking forward to this one. I think this one could be a really, really, really good game for us to watch on Sunday afternoon. Bournemouth, like I say, good opposition. Newcastle, solid. We know how good their midfield is. We know how good their defence is. But for Bournemouth, like I say, it's similar sort of story. Like I said, Semenyo has been fantastic to watch. Their defence has been solid. To say that, obviously, they had their defence ripped apart in the summer transfer window. Areola continues to show why he is a very, very good head coach. And like I said, the cycle keeps spinning at Bournemouth. I'm going 2-2. I'm saying it will end 2-2. But again, it could go any which way, and I genuinely wouldn't be surprised. And finally, in what is obviously the biggest game of this round of fixtures, the main event of this upcoming weekend of Premier League football, we are in London. We're at the Emirates Stadium for Arsenal against Manchester City, and I've gone 3-1 to the Gunners. Now, Arsenal's defence has been absolutely solid all season long. The only goal that they've conceded so far in this campaign has come from an unbelievable Dominic Szoboszlai free kick in the only game that they have lost so far this season. They got back to winning ways against Forest. They were very, very good in that game. Forest barely laid a glove on them, partly down to Forest, but also partly down to how good Arsenal were in that game in controlling, being very good defensively, and of course taking their chances in attack. And as for their opponents, Manchester City, an up and down season so far for them. They were very good in the Manchester Derby last week, but was that genuine, or was that basically a case of they were coming up against a poor Man United side? I think it was the latter. I know that City were good on the day, but they capitalised so much on poor performances, poor decisions, and things of that nature from Manchester United. This one's going to be a real test for them. It's going to be a test for Arsenal as well. There's no doubt about it. Like I say, they've got some good players in there. Man City, of course, they have. That can obviously cause some problems for Arsenal. If Jeremy Doku continues the way that he left off against Man United, he could definitely cause some food for thought for that Arsenal backline. Erling Haaland is obviously Erling Haaland. He's enjoying a very good start to the season for him. But I still have question marks over the defence. I still have question marks over the midfield. And I think that if Arsenal play their cards correctly, if they make the right decisions, they will punish Man City like they did last season. I think they could run through that midfield, beat the press, and I think they could terrify that Man City defence, which of course is just not at the races at all. It's just not good at all. They don't want to defend. They look scared to defend. They're second guessing themselves still. They don't look like a solid defence, and I would be worried if I was a City fan going into this game. Look, as a Liverpool fan, I pray and I hope that this ends in a draw. I think that would be an ideal result for us. But at the same time, I just can't see it. I think if Arsenal set up the way that I'm imagining they will, I think if they set up a bit defensive, try and soak up the pressure from Man City and hit them on the counter-attack, they will create a lot of opportunities. Hell, last weekend, Man United created a number of opportunities. They just could not take them against City. So imagine what it's going to be like with a better, more balanced outfit in Arsenal taking on this Man City side. They're going to create chances. It's all about whether or not they can beat that brick wall in goal known as Gigi Donnarumma, which I think eventually they will do. So I'm backing Arsenal to win. Like I say, I hope it ends in a draw, but I am backing Arsenal to win. I think the Gunners will win by 3-1 and will terrify that Manchester City defence. But look, these are the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of each and every single Premier League game coming up this weekend in another round of intriguing Premier League fixtures? Let me know down in the comment section what you were thinking and feeling about all of that and much more down below. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you are new or want to see more content like this. Both things will always and forever be greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Premier League predictions video. And I will see you and speak to you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers guys. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll speak to you all again very, very soon.